G'day YouTube, Warbles on a lot here. Want to talk to you about global warming, anthropogenic global warming that is, and extreme weather. Now, in the last 20 hours, perhaps a bit less, 18 hours, I've had 44, 45 millimetres of rain. 1 millimetre is 4 points. 1 point on 1 acre is 1 tonne. I have 100 acres. I've just had hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of rain dropped onto this place. And I got to say, it's the second time in a week that I've had good rain. I had 32 millimetres a week ago. But for the previous 3 months, things was looking crook in Tullarook, as they say. In addition to all the leaves that the trees have dropped on the ground to try and shade the earth and keep their roots in the shadow, lots of these trees have had 20, 30, 40, 50% of their leaves turn brown. For example, this is a box tree. At least half the leaves have turned brown and they're getting ready to fall off. Yet over here we have a box tree in flower. There's the one that's got over half its leaves dead. That's about as far into my patch of the forest as this phenomenon seems to extend. And there's the bigger, older tree, which is in flower. And it's not just the box trees. This is a stringy bark. And weirdly, this seems to run down along perhaps an underground stream. Here, the Melaleuca alternifolia is pretty healthy. I'll just walk you along past it. Here it's a little bit scragglier. Some of the ones on the forest floor are brown and desiccated. Here we're running into leaves that are all brown. Here we have a patch of brown and dry and desiccated Melaleuca. The wattle trees above it are suffering. These stringy bark leaves look as if they're parched. Oops, sorry, that's a box. Not a stringy bark at all. It's as if there's either something in the soil or there's a very specific lack of water just hereabouts. Over there, the ground is green and so are the plants. Here, they're all brown and desiccated. And I'll show you the figures later on, but what I want to show you here is the effects of a sudden, short, sharp, severe, hot little drought at the end of winter. You can see the desiccated leaves in clumps on the trees, particularly here on the edge of the clearing. What I don't understand is the way the moss on the rocks has managed to stay alive, whereas the grass under the trees has died off. The trees have lost lots and lots and lots of leaves. It's a really small localized effect, which makes me wonder whether it's a soil fungus or a virus, or perhaps a spreading insect infestation. That particular tree there died about a year ago. As we can continue along down here, following what I think was the original logging track, pushed up this particular ridge, what we find is that on the left hand side, yeah, there's quite a lot of trees that are affected. We come down here onto the edge of my driveway, and it's really, really pronounced, the edge effect. That tree looks okay. There we have trees with brown leaves. We have a dead couple of trees with brown leaves on the ones behind them. Here we have a couple of trees that seem to have died in the last couple of months. And I don't know whether this is pure edge effect or whether there's a fault in the rocks. And most of the time it's got water in it and the trees are able to access it and the plants are able to access it. And this little last 3 months worth of intense mini drought has drained the crack. But if we come around the other way, pretty much most of the trees further downhill are looking all right. That one out there has got some brown dead dry leaves on the top side, and this little stunted thing here is also looking as if it's been dying of the thirst. I'm not entirely certain what's going on, but I suspect it may be a case of, because my place holds a lot of water, all the vegetation stays alive for longer and it flourishes and it has a fairly high demand for water, and then finally, eventually, when its resources run out, it all crashes pretty heavily, pretty quickly. And there's a fairly pronounced edge effect, as in this tree behind me. You look up there and you can see the dead trees. We come down here below my place. This tree, which has fairly shallow roots because it's been blown over, it's got the dead leaf thing going on. Probably 30 or 40% of its leaves are dead. Over there on the tree line, that tree's suffering dead leaves. There's another blowdown with dead leaves, but then again the tree up above it also got dead leaves. And I really couldn't tell you whether it's an insect infestation or a water shortage or a fungus or a virus or some kind of a combination of the three, where, you know, perhaps the low rainfall has allowed the insects or the virus or the fungus to get going, or maybe it's just, as I said earlier, a fault or a flaw in the rock, which in good seasons has a lot of water in it. When the rain shuts off, it hasn't got so much. Maybe instead of having to worry about 10-year droughts with lower than average rainfall and slightly higher than average temperatures, maybe what we have to worry about is 3 or 4 months with dramatically lower rainfall, but also higher temperatures in winter, so nothing stops growing due to the cold. There's no lowered metabolic rate for the plants, and therefore they keep growing all the way through winter, using the soil moisture from the profile all the way through winter. And then if the spring rains fail, bingo, you get to sit on a bushfire fuel bomb for a couple of months until it rains. And then when it rains, you have to have the organic material on top of the soil in order to hold the water and make it soak in. Otherwise, it's just going to run off and erode whatever soil you've got left. So at the moment it's the 12th of October 2017 and I am showing 3.5 inches of water in my soil moisture profile gauge. There's also a spider living in there. The egg case is underwater, and if you look carefully right down here at the bottom, you can see the plant that started to grow when the very first bit of rain fell into the gauge after the algae had dried out and turned into soil, and there was a seed in there as well. So I literally got down to 0% soil moisture profile in the top 6 inches. In the last 12 days I've had 90 millimetres, almost 4 inches. May, 47.65 millimetres, 1.9 inches. June, 52.5 millimetres, 2.1 inches. July, 19 millimetres, 0.76 of an inch. August, 9.5 millimetres, 0.38 of an inch. September, 5.95 millimetres, 0.23 of an inch. I got down to the point where I was rejoicing over 1/4 of a millimetre, 1 point in the gauge. 1 point on 1 acre is 1 tonne of water. That's 100 tonnes of water. And the Rural Fire Service pays $350 a tonne. That's $35,000 from a fixed-wing aeroplane, $550 a tonne from a helicopter. So airdrop from a helicopter with precision, that would be $55,000 a tonne for 1/4 of a millimetre. That's how to feel good about tiny weeny little bits of rain. And then in October, the rain dance response kind of sort of kicked in. So to date, 94.9, 3.79 inches. And once again, the bushfire fuel bomb has receded into being a previous threat, not something we have to worry about today, probably not this next week or two. So, forget about what Tony Abbott might have to say in London about global warming being perhaps a factor that'll bring more good than harm because more people die in cold snaps, says Tony Abbott. I think the intensity is going to ramp up. I think we're going to get stronger winds, stronger rainfall events, more intense, shorter, drier, hotter droughts. Not only low rainfall, but high temperatures, high winds, day after day after day. What they got happening in California, well, you know, they have a president over there who says that global warming is a Chinese hoax. Well, California's on fire, their big dam's broken, and is it 5 or 6 hurricanes that have been bashing into the Gulf Coast and running up the east side of America. I don't think global warming's a Chinese hoax. I think it's real. And I think anybody who reckons it's okay to pump more carbon into the atmosphere because that's how they can make more profits faster, I think they deserve everything that goes wrong in their life. And I don't care what it is that goes wrong, they deserve it because they want to make things worse for everybody in order for them to get personally rich. Warbles on a lot to YouTube. Everybody in California, fine-tune your rain dance. Because nothing else is going to work. Warbles on a lot to YouTube. Ciao.